in. Oh. Can you still hear me? Okay. Okay, I'll give it a couple of minutes to let people get in. Oh, let's see that. Sorry, I'm having printer issues. Hi, Chris. How are you doing? Hi, Molly. Hi, Bailey. The passcode wasn't published. Katie, I'm not sure if you're able to send out emails to everybody that registered for this well, how did you find out the passcode, Chris? Oh, you called Linda. It was in the email, but not in the link like it often is. Okay, thank you, Bailey. So you can't see Michelle, but you could see me. Michelle is on the screen. Are you logged in? So Chris or Bailey, can you see both me and Michelle? You're just seeing the title page? So you cannot see the speaker? Can you see me? Change the view. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. It's not like we haven't been doing this for 3 years straight, y'all. Hold on. Let me get through the intro and we'll try to figure out how we could get everyone to see Michelle. So thank you for joining. Oh, it just said, oh, so maybe Michelle has to talk.
Oh, there. How about if I talk? Can you see me?
There's Michelle when she
Oh,
left.
okay. I'll just have to keep making sound and moving.
Okay, so hold on. Let me do this intro really, really quick. Today's webinar is Ready to Make It Happen in 2023. My name is TJ Daniels, the director of the Women's Business Center. The Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Small Business Administration. You will receive an email after this event from my colleague, Sierra Smith, with the recording from this webinar and a PDF from Michelle, also with a survey. If you could please make sure to respond to the survey. It helps us keep events like this free. Now go ahead and take some time to learn the chat function, which of course we all know that you know how to find because you've been helping me through this technical difficulty I've been having. But go ahead and introduce yourself, post any web pages or social media links so we could all get to know each other and network and check everyone out. Here's a little bit of information about today's speaker, Michelle Rembert. Michelle is an ICF credentialed coach, speaker, and workshop facilitator who helps heart-centered leaders and entrepreneurs to stress less, live more, and lead well. For those of you online that have done our Focus Me session, You know Michelle, she's been the coach for a few times here recently. So with over 30 years of experience in the healthcare industry, Michelle is well prepared and uniquely qualified to support individuals, teams, and organization in workplace well-being. She has expertise in helping individuals to overcome overwhelm, stress, and burnout. She believes that in order to show up fully and to lead others, we must show up fully to ourselves first. So as of right now, I'm handing over the screen to Michelle. If you would like to interact with this presentation, please feel free to include your responses in the chat as well.
Great. Thank you so much, TJ, and welcome everybody. I think it seems like it's almost to the day, a year since we were here last year for Ready to Make It Happen in 2022. And to me, I can't believe how fast 2022 has gone. So welcome if you are new to the Make It Happen series, I guess. It's kind of an annual thing now. And I think there might be a couple people who were here last year. So welcome to you as well. So I would love to have you type in the chat what you did in 2023 that you made happen. Just one or two things, a win, an accomplishment, something, a goal, maybe you set a year ago at this event. Just type something that you consider a win, an accomplishment from 2022. And just plop that in the chat. TJ is going to help me with that. As you know, a lot of times I'm on Zoom. This is not new to me, but I was telling TJ that this is the very first time I've actually been a presenter in a webinar mode. So it's a little different for me not to be able to see all of your faces. So before we begin, I'm going to just invite all of you to imagine, picture, visualize, think about, or even sense or feel that we're all in the same room together. And that room can be wherever you'd like. It can look like whatever you want, maybe cozy, comfy chairs. You could even be in your pajamas. But I just want you to take a minute to picture that. And then, because you can't see everybody in the room, just take a moment to imagine that you're smiling and waving and noticing everybody that gave up an hour of their time to be here. So I just did that, and I'm smiling at each and every one of you, even though I can't see you. I can see TJ, but I'm smiling at her as well.
I do want to remind everybody on Thursday here in the office at noon, we will have an in-person session, hands-on, with Ready to Make It Happen in 2023. So if anybody, has not signed up for that, we will send that link out in the follow-up email, but we will have this session similar to this with the workbooks on Thursday.
Oh, thanks so much, TJ. Yeah, I'm really excited to be able to, you'll get a lot of information today, but the Learning Lab is gonna give you the time and space to actually put some things down on paper. We'll work around what's really gonna make it happen for you in 2023. So I'm excited. So I'd love to see everybody there. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna start okay, so this is my meditating frog. I love him. And if you've been to presentations of mine before, you'll notice that he shows up a lot. So this is just a reminder, not only to myself, but to all of you, just to take a moment to allow yourself to become present. You may have rushed here. You may have a few open tabs on your computer, some emails coming in, but I'm going to invite you just to take a couple breaths and just to give yourself permission to be here fully for the next almost an hour now. If there's something you don't want to forget to do, jot it down. And anytime you feel like you're losing your focus or getting caught off on a tangent with maybe what's for dinner, I invite you just to take a breath and then bring yourself back to this Zoom room that we've imagined together. TJ's already told you about me. You can always go to my LinkedIn or website to see more about me. But the first prompt And we started with this a little bit at the beginning, but maybe thinking a little bit more across your life. What is something you've accomplished that once was a wish, a dream, or a goal? I'd love you to think about that. And usually the first thing that pops into your head is what's meant to be. And go ahead and type that in the chat. I know you can probably come up with a whole list of things, but maybe just that one thing that rises to the top for you today. All right, started a business that I enjoyed, paid off business debt. What else? I'd love to see a few more things popping into the chat. Becoming a mom through birth and adoption. Congratulations. That is a wish, dream, goal, perhaps. So I'll give you a minute just to go ahead and keep thinking about that. If you haven't typed anything in, that's okay. But then the next prompt to follow up with that is, how did that make you feel? When you've met a goal, you've accomplished something that's maybe been a dream of yours, how did you feel when that was finally accomplished? Elated, yeah. A relief, powerful. I'll add mine, I think proud. So a lot of these feelings are typically positive, you know, accomplishment, joy, proud, relieved could be another one. So now there's always the flip side, right? So not to go down the negativity spiral, but think back through your life. Have you ever set a goal, but failed to achieve it? And how did you feel? You can type that in the chat as well. Yeah, I put disappointed as well. Might be some learning around it. Frustrated. So typically when we've set a goal and we don't achieve it, and it could be the same goal that we set year after year, there's usually some amount of frustration, disappointment. So there is this goal failure cycle that maybe you've heard about. We're really excited. We set a goal. We think about it a lot. Maybe there's some planning, but it's in our mind. We're thinking about it. You know, we're visualizing it, maybe picturing it, but we have it at top of mind. We may throw a lot of energy, willpower, maybe even time and resources into that goal. Sometimes we lose motivation. And when we don't make it, then we often feel disappointed, undisciplined, like a failure. So you can fill in the blanks. So unfortunately, that is a cycle that many people get into. So if we're in the same room, I've often asked people to raise their hand if they've ever not met a goal. And typically when we look around the room at each other, every single person has their hand up. So I like to just share that if that's you, you're not alone. So today we're really going to talk about goals, but we're going to talk about goals from a little bit different perspective. A lot of times it's about setting the goal, making it smart, you know, objective and measurable, things like that. That is all really important, but I'm going to add in a few other perspectives that might help you with your upcoming year and making it happen. So this is a great time to think about goals, because oftentimes people have a fresh start. They think of transitions either in new years, new months, around birthdays, big events in our lives is times when we oftentimes will sit down and say, I'm going to set some goals. At this time of the year, they're often called resolutions. I'm curious, I just want you to think about this. You don't have to put it in the chat. And I will share with you, they'll often do studies, research studies, and they'll come up with what are the top 5 goals. Sometimes it'll be higher 20, but what are the top 5 goals that many people set around the new year? So if you have anything in mind, you could pop it in the chat, but I'm going to share with you right now what those are. These are the top 5 as of last year that people set. Exercise more. And see if any of these resonate with you. Eat healthier. Lose weight. Spend more time with family and friends. And last but not least of the top 5 is to save money. So perhaps some of those resonated with you. So here's the thing about resolutions, and maybe you've heard some of the statistics around that. Many people fail at their New Year's resolutions. As a matter of fact, there's been a few different studies that 92% of people that set a New Year's resolution actually don't meet it. So that means that 8% are successful at meeting their goals at the new year. This is so important because actually there is a national holiday, and it's actually a real thing. It's called Quitter's Day, and it's the second Friday in January, because research and studies show that already by the second week of January, people have already thrown in the towel and perhaps have either picked a different goal or have just said altogether, I'm not going to set any goals. So I would encourage you to think about January 13th and make sure that you have set yourself up for success with the tips that we're going to go over today. Okay, so this is a part of the presentation that I do want to have some feedback in the chat. So think about yourself, or even globally, what gets in the way or prevents you from reaching your goals, keeping you stuck, or failing at achieving your goals. So go ahead and just think about you or in general, and drop a few things in the chat. Yeah, fear is a big one, right? What else? Another fear, time management, kids, other obligations. Lack of self-discipline, distractions, lack of focus could add into that mix. Uncertainty that I really want what I'm aiming to achieve. That's a great one. We're going to talk more about that one, Katie. Being really clear on the goal. Priority conflicts, absolutely. Oftentimes what happens is we already have very full plates with juggling often work, running a business, family, perhaps our own self-care and needs. And oftentimes what happens is we then decide to add a goal, but we don't take anything off of our plate. So priority conflicts, overwhelm, too many competing priorities is a really big factor in whether you're going to achieve your goal that you set or not. So let me just share some of the popular reasons, and you've hit upon a few of them. First one is you don't have a clear vision of what you want to be, do, or have. So this is being really, really clear on the why, and not only the why, but being very, very crystal clear on exactly what it looks like to achieve that goal. We'll talk about that. You're just not that into it. It's not meaningful. You don't have a compelling why, and it may feel like extra work, a struggle, and bring negativity to goal achievement. This is a fancy acronym, came out one of the books that I'll show at the end, is getting ready to get ready. Anybody ever plan and put so much time and effort actually into meeting the goal that then you never actually really take action? So this could also have some roots in procrastination or perfectionism as well. SOS, severely overscheduled. We talk about that full plate. Trying to add one more thing just isn't possible. Your goals are not SMART, which we'll talk about. Fear and limiting beliefs. If this was in a priority order, that could truly move up towards the top of the list, because a lot of times that definitely holds us back. Failure to write it down and make a plan, and trying to do it alone without support or resources. So what I'm going to cover now is the steps to make it happen. So some of the research-based tips that you can take with you that can actually increase your chances of being successful with your goals. TJ mentioned that you'll get a PDF. This is a PDF of the actual Make It Happen guidebook that I have. So this is taken right from that. So you don't have to worry about taking lots of notes. You can just sit back and listen. But always, when you're thinking about setting a goal, it's beginning with the end in mind. And perhaps you've heard this before. It's getting really clear on what you want to make happen. Sometimes it's imagining, picturing, visualizing, thinking about with all of your senses what it really would look like in that future state of when you achieve that goal. You're visualizing the daily steps you're taking, and the action towards the goal can be really powerful. There are a lot of research-based studies on the power of visualization. You may have heard of them. Today, I'll just recap a few of the findings of that neuroscience. So visualization works by getting your mind and body ready for what you want to make happen. So just like exercise, the more you do it, the more you visualize, imagine, picture that end result, the stronger your vision can become. One of the studies is looking at a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and repeatedly imagining success maintains this steady stimulation in the brain, which is also part of the motivation center of our brain that really helps move the needle towards success. When you visualize daily, not only visualizing that end result, but you're visualizing those small steps towards meeting your goals. And sometimes you're visualizing, maybe if you come across an obstacle, you're visualizing, okay, what can I do? What's my plan B? How can I learn and grow from this obstacle? And then perhaps you've heard, remember to focus on what you want to happen, not on what you don't want to happen. So it's always in the positive focus. Stephen Covey says to begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, so that you can take steps to get in the right direction to hit your end point. So visualization is the first step. The second step, and we'll spend some time on this, it's really about choosing the right goal. So if you think about some of the goals you've set in the past, and perhaps you haven't been successful at, or perhaps those are ones that you don't meet, so you reset them, and year after year, you're constantly in that cycle of setting the same goals. So perhaps it's exercising more, eating healthier, saving money, losing weight. If you think about some of the goals that we set, it's often around what we should do. So there's this external force that's saying, oh, I really should fill in the blank. Or I really don't like this about myself. I need to fix something about myself. And it's really coming from a place of that not feeling good about ourselves that we set the goal. So one of the things that I like to help my clients do is to really choose a goal that you're excited about and that feels like a true gift to yourself. So choosing a goal that is meaningful and is a compelling why. So this term gift goal is from some of the work that Tara Moore, who's the author of Playing Big, has done. She refers to them as gift goals because it's truly about looking at it as this luxurious gift to yourself. It's something that's pleasurable, makes you smile, makes you feel inspired to continue towards it versus that should or fix me goal. So Tara says that gift goals reflect our callings and unique paths. They don't come from the pressures of society, culture, company, friends, or family. Gift goals have a magnetic pull on us because they're an expression of what we truly believe. So, you know, after you're really clear and visualize maybe what you want to make happen in some area of your life, then really switching the focus on what would seem like a true gift to myself is the next step. So we've had steps 1 and 2. Step 3 to make it happen is to write it down. And I know you've probably heard that, you know, you need to write down your goals to actually make them happen. But there's a book, which I'll give you the resource at the end, called Write It Down, Make It Happen. It's a popular book. It's an older book, but it's a really great resource. But then there's research done by Dr. Gail Matthews. And if you're interested in this study, you can look it up. But essentially what she found, she had 4 different groups in the study. One group just thought about what they wanted to achieve, what they wanted their goal to be. The second group actually thought about the goal, but then took the next step to write it down. I think the third group, if I'm correct, they wrote down the goal, they had some action planning around it. And then the fourth group in that study, they not only thought about it, wrote down an action plan, but then they partnered with somebody for accountability. So in that particular study, it could have been a mentor, a friend, a trusted colleague, things like that. And surprise, surprise, the group that did all 4 of those things, added in the accountability piece, they achieved their goals 42% more than that initial group. So writing it down is really critical. So just a quick slide on the neuroscience that I mentioned before. Writing it down, keeping it top of mind, this really has to do with some neuroscience in our brain. And this role of the reticular activating system is to regulate goal-setting actions. It keeps urgent stuff kind of active in that conscious level, and non-urgent things kind of get pushed to the subconscious. It really sends this goal that you've set and written down and formulated a plan about to your conscious active part of your brain, which is where you need it to be in order to take inspired action. And this is a slide, it just kind of recaps again that study from Dr. Gail Matthews. Okay, so we have visualizing, setting the right goal, writing it down, and now 4th step is breaking it down. Oftentimes we set a goal that's really pretty large, lose 50 pounds, exercise 7 days a week, save, X number of dollars this year. So pretty large goals that we're setting. But what's really helpful is then if you break it down into very small, manageable action steps. So you figure out the end outcome that you want, and then reverse engineer it back to the tinier steps that you would need to accomplish it. So creating tiny action steps and daily habits to build the momentum and keep yourself moving towards the goal. So instead of a marathon, and if you've done marathons, kudos to you, but the 26.2 miles is a lofty goal for many people. But think about the goals as setting these tiny sprints, tiny runs in order to cover the ground of a marathon. So breaking down long-term goals into smaller self-contained goals can turn what seems like a marathon into a series of sprints. Sprints cover the same ground, just in shorter, more manageable intervals. Okay, so we're moving along with our steps. I believe there are 9. So the next step, which many people, when you've had other courses or read about, or just from your own experience, know that there's something called SMART goals. So here the step is make it smart, smarter, smartest. So SMART goals, if you're not familiar or need a refresher, are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So that's the SMART formula. And then some people have been really creative, added a couple extras. So to make it smarter, you add in exciting and rewards, which is something we talked about earlier with the gift goal. And then to make it even smartest, you add in test and adjust, which we'll talk about in a minute. When you constantly, consistently come back and reassess, how am I doing towards my goal? Do I need to make any modifications, readjust? So smart, smarter, smartest. So the next step, and again, they don't have to go in this order. And a matter of fact, I'm going to suggest that celebrate your success could go way at the top of the list. Celebrating your accomplishment releases happy chemicals like dopamine, endorphins into our brain. When we celebrate, and we celebrate regularly and consistently and often, we start to rewire our brain. We immediately do something to create a positive feeling inside of ourselves. So it's not always a big celebration. So it's not like, okay, I lost a pound. I'm gonna go do a massage, get a pedicure, and treat myself to a new outfit. Those can all be very rewarding and helpful. But sometimes it's you see a high five, a thumbs up, a fist bump, a happy celebration dance. So in my in-person classes, sometimes we spend a little bit more time really diving into what are ways to celebrate. And there's lists, but it's really what feels good to you. So it can be an affirmation like, yeah, way to go, I did it. So I invite you to think about, okay, what could I do to celebrate more often, more frequently in the moment when I've taken a step towards meeting a goal? So here's some additional information about celebration inspiration. So celebrating that accomplishment, we mentioned, releases those chemicals in our brain, helps to rewire for motivation and continued success. To rewire the new habit, immediately do something to create a positive feeling. So BJ Fogg, if you haven't heard of him, is the author of something called Tiny Habits. And he is a definite proponent of celebrating. And so oftentimes he'll say you actually celebrate a few different times. As soon as you think about this habit that you're working on, or you're thinking about taking a step, you've put it on your calendar, you celebrate. During the act, whatever you're doing, you do something to celebrate. And then of course at the end. So it's before, during, and after to rewire. Okay, so the next step is to find champions and accountability partners. We talked about this a little bit with the study by Dr. Gail Matthews, that last group, when they added some sort of accountability piece, really helped improve and create success for people. Studies show that you're more successful when you share your goal with someone you trust. Accountability partners can be a friend, a coworker. There's a lot of different accountability groups that you can join, mastermind groups. Focus Me, that TJ mentioned earlier, is a great way to have accountability with a group of trusted, like-minded people to help kind of keep moving you forward. And then, of course, partnering with a coach like me is also a powerful way to get clear about what you want to achieve, to figure out how to navigate those obstacles that sometimes come up, and then to kind of help support and help you celebrate really achieving your goals. The next step, which I think is really important, earlier we talked about when we don't meet a goal, we sometimes feel bad about ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We feel like we've disappointed. We don't have self-discipline. We feel like a failure sometimes. So part of making it happen, being successful, moving forward, is to give yourself grace. So there's a lot of ways to do this. First is just acknowledging awareness that there are going to be ups and downs in your journey of anything that you do. You can use mindfulness, self-compassion techniques as a foundation for your goal achievement. When you find yourself feeling stuck, challenged, instead of having your inner critical voice come up or beating yourself up, my invitation would be to then use curiosity to really explore what you might do to get yourself back on track. Sometimes you might realize that you didn't really set a gift goal from the get-go, that you're feeling pressured, or you're feeling like you should do something, or you're doing it from that place of trying to fix yourself. So perhaps at that point, you could sit down and get really clear, what would seem like a gift goal? How can I revise this goal to make it more inspiring to myself? So Tara Moore, who I mentioned earlier from Playing Big, says, where we think we need more self-discipline, we usually need more self-love. So through the routines and rituals that we set up to enable the changes we desire to happen naturally and with ease. And what I love about this quote from, excuse me, Tara, is really looking at it from the place of self-love versus willpower or self-discipline. And how can you set yourself up so that you're moving forward with simplicity and ease? Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. I have a bit of a tickle. So the last step here, excuse me, is to review, reset, restart. So this is where you really get clear. That was part of the SMART-EST goal formula, is to figure out a way to track your progress on a regular basis, review and make adjustments. And then that's where you decide, what do I need to do with this goal? Is it important enough for me to continue? If so, maybe I need to make some changes. Perhaps I've tried to add this really important goal to an already full plate. And so I'm going to have to remove something from my busy schedule in order to make this a priority. Sometimes you may realize that that goal is not for you. It's not bringing you energy anymore. And it's time to reset or restart or even scrap that goal altogether. Okay, so so that was kind of the steps. So at this point, I'm going to give you a few minutes. This is just a taster of what we'll do in person on Thursday at the Learning Lab. But I'm going to invite you, based on everything we just talked about with those different steps, the point here is really just to take a couple minutes just to imagine, picture, visualize, think about, sense or feel 1 year from today. So we're at the end of now 2023. Perhaps we're getting back on the Make It Happen 2024 call. Perhaps you're just reflecting at the end of the year, but just think about, what would you really like to make happen in 2023? This could be in any area of your life. And I'm going to give you just a few minutes just to kind of go there and just to think about it. Maybe imagine all different areas of your life. It could be personal, professional, health-related, finance, relationship. And if you have some paper in front of you, maybe just jot down a few things on that paper. And we'll come back in just a couple minutes. Okay, now that you've had a chance just to think big picture, really the entire year, 2023, maybe some broad categories came to mind for you, areas of your life. So the next prompt that I'll share with you, and again, if you have a piece of paper to jot it down, or even if you want to think it through in your head, that's fine as well. Start to get a little bit clearer now. Find some clarity. So again, putting aside all shoulds, perfectionism, people pleasing, self-criticism, and need to fix me beliefs. That's a big mouthful. So just really tapping into your heart and that place of self-compassion. What do you most want to make happen in 2023? I'm going to give you a moment to think that through. And as you're thinking that through, the last prompt on this is to then always come back to that higher level of what would it feel like to have a fun, exciting gift to yourself? And how can this goal really feel like that gift? And I'm going to invite you, if you feel comfortable sharing, to maybe put something in the chat, letting us know, declaring if there's something you feel comfortable sharing, like what would you most like to make happen? And what would make it feel like a fun, exciting gift to yourself? Yeah, so finding direct shippers, a business goal. And I added mine, just a gift to myself. That's a goal, is to find some quiet time for journaling and meditation in the mornings. Learn agile, lead with even more confidence. Great. Build a community or personal board of directors. I love personal board of directors. Support me in running my own business. Last time I felt incredibly alone, and I think that's why it was so scary. Great insight. And I love that personal board of directors. So the support, accountability, and I know the Iowa Center has a lot of resources and support available for things like that as well. We'll give you just another moment if anybody wants to share in the chat something that you want to most make happen, a fun, exciting gift to yourself in 2023. Okay, so now that you've kind of thought that through, there's just two follow-up prompts. And this is really important. It's how do you want to feel when you make that happen? So when you think about that goal, that gift goal, that thing, that way of being, doing, how do you want to feel at the end? Earlier, we talked about when we've met goals, how we feel. There's certain things we're proud, we're accomplished, we're relieved, things like that. A lot of times I've got the asterisk down here. Goals are always deep down underneath the surface about creating a change in how we feel. We're looking for a way to feel when we meet that goal. So think about what you indicated or thought about you wanted to make happen. Now think about the word, that feeling. How do you want to feel when you make it happen? And if you have that, you can drop it in the chat. You don't have to share your goal, but just how do you want to feel in 2023? Sometimes people can then connect that to a theme word for the year, but you can also have themes around your goals. So how do you want to feel? Let's have people just plop in one way you want to feel into the chat. I'm going to add mine. I want to feel light and calm. Grateful, satisfied. Yeah, some great things to add. So when you think about how you want to feel, again, we're looking at the long-term goal, but if we're deep down under the surface wanting to create a change in how we feel with our goals, with what we want to make happen, my invitation is to think about what can I do today that will already put me in this feeling state. So sometimes people will say they want to exercise more. And when they really dive down underneath that, they really want to feel more energetic. But sometimes to have the energy to go work out at the end of a very busy day is what causes us not to continue that goal, right? So I work with my clients on, okay, you said you want to exercise more to feel more energetic. Well, what can you do today? What are small steps you can do to already start to feel more energy? So then we work on a plan, and sometimes it's a very, very tiny action step of, I'm going to do 2 minutes of some deep, energizing breath work every morning, and that will shift them into a more energetic state. And then I'm going to get up from my desk every hour and walk for 5 minutes. So they're not going to the gym. They're maybe not doing the exercise goal that they originally had thought about. But guess what? By doing that, they're feeling more energy. And by celebrating those small steps, they're actually rewiring their brain. And now 5 minutes felt great to walk. I think I'm going to add another couple minutes. Or, do you see how then you can start to add in more sprints to that marathon goal? So so other things in the chat. Thanks for sharing these. So wanting to feel stable, connected, confident, less stressed. Yeah. So if you think about all of those different feelings that you want to have, go ahead and just pop into the chat if you can think about one small thing you could do today to start to feel more like that. Let's see. I said light and calm. So for me, the calm state is really about being intentional with staying off my phone. I've been spending too much time. So for me to feel calmer, it's not about sitting hours in meditation or taking yoga classes, which are all great and will add to my final result. But I could just dial down the amount of screen time I have today to start to feel calmer. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add in the chat? Celebrate the progress made thus far. Absolutely. So I'm going to share. You guys are doing great, by the way. Something to celebrate. So here, there are so many resources and tools about goal setting and achieving your goals. You know that that's like one of the biggest billion-dollar business in terms of coaches who help you meet your goals, books, programs online. These books that I'm sharing right now are some of my favorites, and some of the information that I pulled for the presentation today came from these resources. And I'll give you a minute just to jot them down. The Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. You don't have to buy his book. You can go online and search him. He actually has some free resources and tools. And I think you used to be able to sign up for a Tiny Habits, like a free online challenge or course that kind of walks you through. Really, really highly recommend that, because it's breaking it down into not only small steps, they're tiny steps. In some ways you look at it and go, oh, that could never get me to my goal, but it's really about building the habit and then increasing from there. Playing Big by Tara Moore is a fabulous resource. And then of course, Atomic Habits, if you haven't heard of that one, is another great resource. So my invitation, I have a couple. One is, if you're able to make it in person on Thursday, I would love to have you there. We will use some of this as our basis, but we'll go a little bit deeper. I have a different workbook, and I'll have a few exercises, not physical exercises, although an hour and a half we might do a breathing break or two, but some coaching tools that I help people walk through to get really clear. The intention would be that when you leave the workshop, the learning lab, you would have a pretty solid plan for 2023 for yourself. So I invite you to come to that if you can. When you get the PDF, you'll be able to look back at some of the notes. And when you sit down, perhaps you set intentions. It doesn't have to be at the new year, but maybe just have a checklist and make sure that when you go through, you're setting yourself up for 100% success. I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions or comments that you want to add to the chat right now, I'd love to give you a couple minutes for that.
I have a question.
Yeah, there's TJ. Oh, Abby wants somebody to post a link to the Thursday event.
I think Katie should still be on here. The Iowa Center Katie, if Katie, you could post the link to that event on here.
Yay, Molly, I'll see you in person on Thursday. Great.
And I do plan on getting some treats for everybody who shows up here on Thursday, just a little appetizer or snack that we could have provided by one of our clients. So that's something that'll be nice. Treats. So like, okay, so we're making these goals, making the smarter goals. How long does it take like to establish a habit? So one of my things is to like every single day I try to write a to-do list, but then I also try to reflect on yesterday and like in my planner also write out like the positives or things that I'm grateful for in my planner.
Yeah.
And I swear I did it for like 2 weeks. But then I fell off. So like how long does it take to like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There's a lot of different research out there. Originally, they were saying, oh, it takes 21 days of consistency to make it a habit. And then there's the book called The One Thing, which if you're not familiar with, is another great resource. But then they said, no, it's not really 21 days, it's 66 days. Well, the point is that it's whatever works for you. So you might have to be creative. So I would sit down and say, okay, how does it feel when I actually spend the time writing down what I'm grateful for or what went well, things like that. And you're like, yeah, it feels really good. So you're like, okay, I want to do that because it feels good. And we know that there's a lot of science-based evidence that writing down what went well and what you're grateful for can help help with positive mindset and moving you forward. So you're like, okay, well, why do I not continue when I know I want to do it? It's a gift to myself. So then you start looking at, okay, what is getting me off track? So then you might have to start putting some things into play. You might go, you know what? It's really important to me. I'm inspired to do it. It makes me feel good. It's worth my time. So now you might need to look at some things, reminders. You're like, okay, well, every day I'm going to set an app reminder or a timer reminder or something, and it's going to remind me. You can also, what the tiny habit says is when you pair a new habit with something that's already 100% established, you pair it with that. So here's an example. Most people brush their teeth every day, right? Most people have a habit of brushing their teeth. So not necessarily your gratitude habit, but let's say then I decide that it's really important. I want to drink more water. Well, I take brushing my teeth, which is something I know I'm already doing, and I set my new habit around that. And it says, after I brush my teeth, I will drink 8 ounces of water. And you have the glass of water ready, maybe, or your hydro flask from the night before, you have it sitting right next to your toothbrush. So now you've connected the two, something that you're already established a habit on to something that you want to learn, and you pair them, and then you can help build that chain that way. That's one example. So I don't know if that helps, TJ.
It does. I chose to write out my stuff every morning when I got here to work.
Oh.
But then the weekend happens. So we're off, or I have vacation days. And then a week later I come back and I'm like, where is that journal even at?
Oh, okay. Well, so it sounds like you've established the habit when you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
So you've established 5 days a week. So now you just need to figure out your weekend.
Right.
Because right now it's paired to coming to work. Now you need to look at Saturday and Sunday and say, okay, what do I do consistently on a Saturday, Sunday morning that I could pair it with? And it just might need a little bit more habit training. Like you could say, well, I get up every Saturday and I make myself a cup of coffee, or I make myself a cup of tea. Well, every time I make myself a cup of tea, I'm going to have my journal right next to my teapot. You know what I'm saying? You kind of,
and I broke it down to where I'm only writing 1 or 2 sentences. Yeah. So it's not like it's even, so, okay.
Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful.
I'm excited for Thursday, so I can.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else in the chat. Oh, there's the Learning Lab link for those of you who are asking. Yeah, and you can always reach out. You have my contact information on the PDF that's going to be mailed to you. So you can always reach out if you can't make it Thursday. I'm happy to support you in any way I can. And yeah, thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle, for being here. And of course, thank you to the audience for engaging and just being here. I hope to see a lot of you on Thursday. It's nice to be back in person after so long. So I wanted to bring up a couple of events that we have on Tuesday, every single Tuesday from 11 to noon. We have our small business accountability group where we try to set intentional goals and hold each other accountable at the end. Of course, Thursday at noon is the Learning Lab. And then I also like to remind everybody that we also have the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. We're always looking for volunteers, or of course, we do taxes here year round. I always like to remind people about the Iowa Center Loan Fund. We do have access to capital here. And then, so if you would like more information, please check us out at our website, theiowacenter.org. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for upcoming events. And lately we've been adding some grant opportunities in there. So sign up for that newsletter and follow us on social media. And then of course, the one piece of advice that I always have for everybody is to do what you love and love what you do. Thank you, everybody.